Welcome to The Source with your host, Dr. C.T. Curry, and co-host Coby Owens. News all across the nation. The Source. Stay in the loop in the city of Wilmington, Delaware. Work together for change in the community. A call to action to find the resources. The Source, the latest in news.
Good evening. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
And welcome to The Source. Coby, this week I was out a lot, and a couple people were really telling me that they enjoyed this show. One lady, and I just really forgot her name, and I do apologize. She watches every week, and she said, tell Coby to keep hope alive. So I want to make sure I told you that on the air, and it says, I am so sorry, but I don't write things down. I've now reached the age of 50, and that means I'm forgetting stuff. But people are really watching, Coby. So we want to make sure that we really keep this show tight, doing what it needs to do.
I know that's right. And thank you for watching the show. Thank you to everyone who watches the show every week.
Yes. So this week, I want to start off with a shooting that occurred on right off Vandiver Avenue. Something happened where two people were injured. You know anything about that?
Yeah, so there was a shooting that involved a 20-year-old and a 21-year-old that happened on October the 2nd. That was Wednesday. Like you said, it happened on Vandiver. Both were transported to the hospital in stable condition. But there's an ongoing investigation. The authorities haven't provided any additional details, but they are urging anyone with information to reach out to them, to Detective James Rooks at the Wilmington Police Department. One, the area that this is in, right, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. It's, there's been a lot of high crime in the area already, but this is considered a hot zone for the city of Wilmington. So, I just wonder how long it took for police to respond and why they weren't able to see anything in the surrounding area about a shooter or anyone.
Yeah, for the people who are watching, Coby, could you just help us understand what do you mean when you say a hot zone?
So a hot zone is an area that has higher activity, drug activity, higher crime activity, and has a proven record of having that for a long time. Hot zones are all across the city of Wilmington, and that's where the vast majority of the violence takes place in the city. It's literally not every single block. Right. But this is one of the hot zones for the city. It's a known area. It's not far from multiple schools and community centers. So again, I would hope that there would be more attention in this area, and hopefully they're able to find who was behind these shootings.
Yeah, and well, one of the things you had mentioned a few seconds ago that you think, you were wondering how long it would take to have gotten to this call. Well, the mere fact that there was no murder, we're going to just assume that they got there right on time to be able to transport these individuals to the hospital. Another thing that happened, and while we're talking about the shootings, that they just arrested somebody from a 2-year situation. I saw that in the news this week where the case had gone cold, and all of a sudden it is now being brought back to life. So sometimes I guess it does take more. Do you think there's more technology needed in the Wilmington Police Department?
Oh, absolutely. I think Mayor Williams, before he lost his reelection, was doing some really good work to really make sure that they're addressing some of the crime. He brought back our cold case unit and started bringing new technologies. And you've seen over the last 8 years, additional things have been added, but the resources just aren't there to the levels that it needs to be. Again, different mayor, different priority. We are under our current administration who cares more about perception in the media than actually what the community is feeling and feeling safe in our community. And that goes back, people say, oh, you only say that because they're shootings. How can the mayor stop that? Even when the young lady who worked at the bank who was killed by gunfire, the mayor's administration and the spokesperson for the police department decided to hold off releasing that information to the public so they didn't disrupt the PGA tour that was here. That is something that is concerning. And I guarantee you that has happened more than once. That's the type of administration this has been, and I cannot wait until January 7th, where we could say former Mayor Mike Purzycki.
Yeah, and you know, I've not gained any friendships in that office, and I don't know who's going to be remaining there. And I hope Governor Carney really look at the staff and talk to people about some of the viciousness that some of them possess. But I'm watching certain key positions to see if or not the governor's going to replace. But the little voice I may have in that office, in the governor's ear, I'm going to make sure that he understands some people were just vicious. And while we certainly will blame Purzycki because he is the chief person there, some of the people around him really just did some things that were just outright vicious.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, you know, I do have hope. I have hope that Governor Carney, soon to be Mayor Carney, is a more level-headed mayor, one that is more focused in on the community. And again, you can be pro-investment, pro-development. I believe development is needed for any city, but you can do it in a way that you're not leaving certain neighborhoods out.
Right.
Purzycki was a very vindictive man. He sat across from people and said, oh, well, I didn't win over your area, so that's why your area is not getting any investment or any additional help. He, you know, pulled money back from different parks to put it into Rodney Square, which, to be honest, putting those water fountains in there, it does nothing. We could have used that money to actually address some of the crime issues we were having in the city of Wilmington. We could have extended safe haven hours at our community centers. So again, in my eyes, yes, he built a lot of brick and mortar. That's good. But overall, he's a failure of the mayor. And like I said, I'm glad he'll be gone. Yeah,
well, I don't think that you're by yourself with that assessment, but we'll see how it all turned out. Another thing that was in the news this week is that there were 3 teens charged with starting up and stirring up a large fight in Wilmington area. I don't even know where this area is, but you know anything about that?
Yeah, so there was, it was a big fight, and they were able to catch 3 other teens involved with it, a 16-year-old girl, a 16-year-old boy, a 15-year-old boy. It happened around Friday at noon, and it was kind of a spillover from what was happening at HBCU week.
Okay.
So there was a college resource fair back there at the Chase Fieldhouse, right, where the 76ers practice. A great opportunity, and before I continue on, I just want to say I still support HBCU week. And for all the people that look like me out there, I just want to say one thing. You will continue to go to McDonald's time and time again, regardless of how many times they mess up your order, but you still go and support them. When a Black organization has a hiccup, you want to pull your support, you want to demonize them, you want to throw them under the bus. What happened at HBCU week was you had individuals who had zero intentions of actually going there to further their education and take hold of the opportunity that was being presented to them. It's not many places where you can go and get accepted on site and get full rides and get access to other scholarships as well too. The kids who were there for that lost out on a great opportunity. For the kids who their schools just said, oh, if you go to this, you'll get a day off. You don't have to come in for the rest of the day. That drove a lot of kids to go to that event. And when you do that without any structure and supervision for some of these kids, they're going to act out. Especially if they have online beefs going with one another. Now you finally see each other. There's not a lot of adult supervision because you're supposed to be a professional at this. This is your first opportunity to be a professional. And these kids started fighting on the outside, on the inside, all around the building. And it was sad. Also, I think with this one, there needs to be some requirements, GPA requirement. If you've been suspended within, the last few weeks, you can't go. If you have a track record of getting in fights, you can't go, right? And again, to Ashley Christopher, who's the founder of this, she's trying to open it up to the demographic of kids who traditionally do not get opportunities. But sometimes with that, you need a little more structure for some of them. And there are good ones who get in trouble every now and then. So I don't want to exclude them. But, you know, for the safety of everyone, it just, you know, what happened there was sad.
Yeah.
But for every adult who wants to criticize but never been to an event, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because these events, whether it's the concert, whether it's the Battle of the Bands, whether it's the block party, all that money is going back into these scholarships, right? So this is why we should come out and support. This is why people buy the hoodies and everything that say HBCU Week. It all goes back to funding this great opportunity for our kids. And these kids aren't just from Wilmington, right? They're from all over. There was kids from Chester, there was kids from Maryland, there was kids from all the way down Delmar and Laurel who came up. And some of them came up with their teachers. You know, you saw kids there with their school, you know, swag on. St. Elizabeth all had nice hoodies on and everything. It's an opportunity to learn about the schools that you're interested in, get to talk to the admissions people who are there, but then also potentially get get accepted on the spot.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% in that it is a great opportunity. I did not have this opportunity when I was in high school to have all these colleges there to get a look at them. And I wasn't too sure if I was even interested. And I agree with you that for those individuals who constantly speak ill of Black establishments when they fail at something, it's just a disservice to our community. Yeah. I am a product of a HBCU, and I say that proud. And next 2 weeks from now, I'll be on my campus. To my understanding, Kamala Harris will be there as well. But I will be a proud person there representing my school. I think that the organization was done well. Okay. Yeah. This is where I think it fell apart. It fell apart when there was no one to execute what was planned. I agree with you. Christopher has done a phenomenal job with bringing this to the city. And even I'm sure the organization is strong. It's just that when you're dealing with this age group now 15, 16-year-olds, they are uncontrolled. And I'm pushing it back on parents. The way you're supposed to register online, you're supposed to get a permit. It was something they were going to give you in order to go. But when they arrived, there was no one collecting anything. There was no one checking to see if or not you were supposed to be there, is what I'm told, because I have some members of our church who went, and one parent who was assaulted shared what she observed and did send some information to Christopher's office. But let me be very clear that HBCUs have been around for almost 200 years. And we have to make sure we're supporting them. And those who plan events with that type of name on it have to make sure that the back part is taken care of too, because there is no reason for the fights to break. All it does is lend to those people who are agitators saying, see, I told you, see, I told you, see, I told you. I was floored when I heard fights breaking out. I thought it was a party. I mean, right before we went on the air today, you said no, it wasn't. There was no party. The block party's the next day, but it was a school event, and some people did not mean any well, but we needed people there to help. But can I just say this, and then I'm gonna let you share what you're going to share. To every parent who's watching us today, I'm watching the age range between 11 and 17. That group of individuals used to be when you were 11 years old, you still was a baby. Used to be you would still be watched after 12. Now they're shooting people at the age of 11, 12, 13. They're in violent crime. Not all of our young people, but a nice portion of them. Parents, we need to find the help. State, you have to help us help the parents who want their children off the street. How we get to that, I don't know, Coby.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to it. But there is too many young people. We talked about a few minutes ago, 2 16-year-olds and a 15-year-old caused a large fight. You said it was a spillover. Then you got shootings that every week we got, and they're young people. Where are the parents? And if the parents are in their lives, why isn't it some kind of interventions going on? And if it is, or if it's not, why? Is it because there's no resources? Because I have had some parents who have come to me as a pastor to say, I can't do anything with him. I can't do anything with her. They're nasty. They're this way. They're disrespectful. And if I hit them, then they're going to call the cops on me and I'm going to jail. How do we fix this crisis that's in our community today?
Yeah, one, I think I'll talk for Wilmington. One is you got to invest more in our community centers. When you take $8 million and you put it into the Rodney Square renovations, when you take millions of dollars and put it into the development of a new bus hub and then you sell it to Bacini Pollen for $1, that money could have better been used to expand programming and opportunities at our community centers. And yes, I'm connected with the Pal of Wilmington, but I'm talking about the Pal of Wilmington, LACC, West End Neighborhood House, Hilltop, My Sister's Keeper. You have all these community centers that are always looking for additional help and resources to expand programming. They're at capacity right now, a lot of them, and they need the money, right? Do you get more out of it? Yes, because you start developing a generation that has been left out in the wind, right? It is unsafe right now to go to our parks because of the crime, right? And we just have to be honest about that. We should live in a city where, regardless of where you live, you should be able to walk to a park and be safe within 10 minutes of your house. Heck, even 5 minutes of within your house, right? These are the kind of things we have to look at to really address how we're meeting the needs. We have to work with our education system, right? When you have people down in Dover who are useless on a committee who are supposed to be representing the city of Wilmington, and the person who's on the committee for Wilmington is Nnamdi Chukwu, right? Completely useless in getting anything done. Our education system has gotten worse since he's been the representative down there. We need to make sure that we're doing better to meet the needs of our students, both in school and out of school. We have Title I schools. We have 21st century funding going into it, but they need more flexibility in order to address the needs. We need a new funding system for our education system that meets the needs of our students, not just a resource-based one, but a student-based funding system. If a student needs smaller class sizes, they need more attention, right? They should get the additional resources to make sure that they're learning on par with everyone else. That's just the baseline. We want everyone to be on the same level as the baseline. We want them to exceed. That's a higher bar. But when you have people who are okay with lowering the bar so that it looks good for their own political careers and so that they can go down there and say, oh, well, we were a fighter trying to be like our legends of the past, our ancestors here. Well, that's just sad.
Right. Absolutely.
That's just sad. If you care more about trying to get a building named after you when you finally retire and create a legacy than actually changing the trajectory of our education system, that is sad.
It is sad. And one of the things we talked about when we first started the show is that, like, for example, where I live at, there is a community center there, and that development. It's for our development residents. I am a strong believer that every community should have a community center. It should be a place where we come, we grow, we learn, we nurture our young people as well as our seniors as well. Everybody else is working pretty much. Now, this is the problem. In the city, when I remember we were getting ready to build the Wholeness Center here on our campus, we did our research. In this one facility, I mean, we got Powell Center, and this is not in walking. There is none in walking distance. Okay, let's start there. There are no community centers in walking distance. But in this side of town, and 1980, well, that's 02 where you all are. Well, so all you all have it. Where's the one near Ebony's? What's that called? near the Ebenezer Baptist Church, that community center, not Powell.
Kingswood.
Yeah. What is that in 19880?
That's still 802, I believe.
In 19801, where are the children to go? Where are the children to go? There's a lot of buildings, and I did have a very good conversation today on Coffee with Curry. Well, I think next week we're going to have one with Coffee with Curry with our city council person who is representing our district. She's doing a whole lot in the district. It's a nice balance. But there is absolutely nothing for these young people to do. I've been working with my daughter on her volleyball because I'm enjoying her. So I take her over to our gym, which we have volleyball here, and we have open gym. But there's rules that you have to have. Right. No cussing. You got to fill out the form to make sure your parent got to agree. Okay. So after all of that is done, I was sitting there watching the talent, Coby. I mean, I said, I got to find money. I now got to find money. I'm glad I was over there helping my daughter. I got to find me 2 coaches because we got kids over there who can play unbelievable and they listen. When I shared with one of the young men, I said, hey, we don't care if he's bigger than you. You stay on your feet. I was giving some techniques. I'm not a real basketball player, but I coach pretty good. And he took my advice and he saw, and his confidence, even in playing that big, tall, 3 times his height guy, he ended up finding himself being very confident. And the skill set is so strong, but they have no place to go. They have nothing to do. So what happens? Trouble find them. Yep. Trouble find them. That's a shame. 19801. Where is your community center? Ezion Fair is a private one, but we don't get any money from anybody. We do have open gym. If they join our gym, no cost, they can come when they want to after school. But when they say open to the community, you don't really have to have a membership. You just said we have to make sure certain things are taken care of. And I'm just concerned that we are losing our youth. A lot of them were born to parents who are on drugs, which means there are some emotional issues going on, and there is no interventions. And I mean, come on, man. You went to a Catholic school. There was a lot of stuff you had available to you. My daughter, there's a lot of stuff she got available to her. But why are we leaving behind those who don't have the finances to be able to get the help? And I agree with you. No way in the world should we be building bus hubs and all this other stuff and not taking care of a community. Who will rise up in city council, the 109th? Are you on the 9th?
109th, yep.
Who will rise up in city council and say, you know what? Let us ask the mayor to make sure that we build something in every community, even if it's some refurb a house, where they have a place to go and to do the things they need to do. That's going to be my big question. Who will do that? Because I'm sick and tired of seeing these 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 11-year-olds shooting and causing fights and disrupting. We can talk about HBCU week for the next 10 years. But unless we have an outlet for them, it's not going to work.
No, I agree with you. And one of the things here in the city of Wilmington, when you want to look at it, there's a new project coming here. And it's they're putting $10 million into it from city reserve funds. It's going to bring new jobs. It's going to bring new people into the city. But my only issue with that is for the last... how many years have we been saying, hey, can we have additional money into helping with housing? Hey, can we have additional money into helping address some of these youth issues that we're dealing with? Hey, can we have some additional money to create more youth jobs, to give them year-round jobs working with the city and working with different, place them at different nonprofits and things? And we've been told there's no money. We can't touch that money. Oh, but what about the reserve fund that we have? What about the reserve? No. We can't touch that. We can't touch that. That money has to be there so many years. This is what certain members on council have said. This is what the mayor's administration has said. But now all of a sudden a business wants to come here. And some schools, right? Widener Law and DSU want to come here. Both that should have endowment funds. And again, nothing against either one of those schools. I like both of those schools. I've met with both those deans multiple times. But they have their own money. The state also gives them money. But now all of a sudden we have $10 million to give up. We have record crime on our streets. Our babies are getting killed. But certain council people did not find the need to push to get additional money from there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm looking forward to this 109th council group. And while and for those of you watching, please do not misconstrue what Coby shared.
Right.
Do not say that he's against that project. He's for it. But he's asking the question, where are the priorities? We could not find any money to help the poor. We could not find any money to help our young people who are out there with no resources. But all of a sudden, a new project comes in, and now we can find the money to help the project. Now, there will be finance money coming back in from that. We understand all that because we talked about that with the city council person. And so we're not saying we disagree, but we have to realign our priorities. And we have to give back to the inner city because remember, with all those 400 new jobs that's coming in, they got to house them somewhere. So that's why they're probably building all those places that they're building so they can house them someplace. But I just really, Coby, we really need to just really figure out if we're going to solve this shooting issue, this violence issue. I agree with the first, what's the other mayor before?
Williams.
Not Williams, before Williams.
Baker.
Baker said you can't arrest your way out of this. Correct. I agree with that. So what we got to do is we got to now build our way out of this. So we have to find resources in order to help our young people become more productive and better citizens. Because I'm really in shock. 11-year-olds. We were building this senior housing over here, and I saw a little girl. She had to be about 10 or 11. She's up in the house, up in the area, throwing rocks out through the window. I'm sitting there saying, where's the parents? But then I got to also ask, where's the government helping? And so I hope when you get to the 109th council, I really hope that you all readjust. And I'm going to have some comments about that a little bit later. Yeah. Where y'all start thinking about, yes, we're going to support it, but.
Yeah. And like I said, this project, it's for higher education. So I'm never going to be against something like that. Right. But what I'm hoping is there's a vast majority of people right here in the city of Wilmington who will not go to higher education.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. They just don't have the money. They don't have the resources because the city hasn't invested in them. So yes, you're investing in a very small amount of people, but pitting the largest lump sum of money from that reserve fund into a project like this is very concerning. Where again, we could, as a council, we could be focusing in on the beginning of the cycle, right? If you invest in that early 0 to 3 age range, right? It's before they get to schools. That is when your mind is developing the most, right? That is going to set you up to see if you either go to college or go to jail, right? That is the critical time that we need to invest in. And we need, hopefully, this upcoming council, we can focus in on that because that study after study shows that's when you need to invest, not in the back end for higher education, but in that front end to set them up and prepare them for just their educational success journey.
Yeah. And I think that I hope that as you've tried to credit the governor with having more level head, but the way the city is run over the last 8 years is that Republican model, trickle down, trickle down, trickle down. We take care of the top and let it trickle down and let the breadcrumbs go into the poor community, but it's trickling down. We take care of the top. As long as the top is taken, and no one is against development. No one is against any of this, but you got to give people a fair share. And the mass majority of our city is not the rich and the wealthy. The mass majority of this city are those who are living below the poverty line. And we have to start reflecting that. Is there anything else you have today, Coby, for that side of the
That's
show?
all I have for that side.
And for those of you who are watching us constantly, it's a frustration. And I think the frustration with those of us who are community leaders is that we just sit back and we see all this money going all these different places and we don't have money for anything until somebody who can help us have a need. And then all of a sudden our young people need us. I need grandmoms, I need grandfathers, I need mothers, I need fathers to begin to start talking to the city council people and to the governor's office and Matt Myers, who we believe will become the next governor, saying we've got to reinvest in these communities. If we don't reinvest in the community now, we will not have a Wilmington later. We will not have a Delaware later because there's too many people who are being lost. And when our people are lost, the Bible says, now this is not a Bible show, but I have to quote one scripture. The Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. So what happens is if there is no vision, people go haywire and they do what they want to do. And it won't be long before, even in the rich communities, that drugs and violence is going to creep in and is going to create some major problems. It's time to address it right now. So we'll be right back.
Join us live for our weekly worship. Every Sunday at 9 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube.
I'm doing the best I can, but I still gotta have a little Chardonnay, and I still gotta have a little this, and I gotta still sneak around. The devil is a liar. That's an excuse.
Wilmington's most exciting church.
Hi, I'm State Senator Sarah McBride, the Democratic nominee for Delaware's open congressional seat. Too many people think government does not respect them. I try to do things differently. That's why I brought Democrats and Republicans together in Delaware to pass paid family and medical leave, because guaranteeing that families have support respects families. It's why I help champion a livable wage, because respecting workers means they earn a decent wage. And it's why in Congress I will always defend Social Security and Medicare, because I respect that these are benefits that seniors have earned. I'm running for Congress to build a government that sees and respects all of us. I hope to earn your vote in this campaign.
Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Ezion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna have a real good conversation. I'm excited. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. Why don't you call somebody real quickly? Tell them Coffee with Curry is on. And let's get after it. We're back. Coby, what's going on with the Coby Corner?
Yeah, so I don't know if everyone watched it, but earlier this week there was a little debate.
Yeah, we watched it.
And it was Governor Tim Walz, who's the running mate of the VP Harris, and Senator J.D. Vance, who's the running mate of Trump. And those two took the debate stage, and it was the first time they actually met in person. So it was very interesting to see how this was going to go. Walz is the more experienced politician. He's been around a lot longer. But of course, Vance is the younger face, right? They're both from the Midwest. It was a very polite debate.
Very polite.
Something we haven't seen in a long time.
Forgot that exists.
But again, that's how Midwesterners are. They are very polite to each other, but they're very direct. And I just wanted to talk about some of the takeaways that I had from the debate and that others had. One of the biggest was J.D. Vance completely dodged whether or not if Trump won the election in 2020 and January 6th as well, too. Yeah. So, you know, when the question was asked, did President Trump in 2020 lose the election to now President Biden? Vance said in response, I'm focused on the future.
Yeah, that was his language. That was
the, I mean, textbook answer, non-answer, answer.
Yeah.
Again, completely sidestepping that. And again, what was asked of on January 6th, where, you know, Vance pushed that off of, what happened on January 6th, it's nothing different from when the Democrats in 2016 said that Vladimir Putin stole the election from Hillary Clinton because he bought $500,000 of Facebook ads. One, that's not true.
Right. Well, he lied a lot.
There's FBI has found numerous actual evidence that there was interference in our election in 2016. And this was the FBI director under Donald Trump.
Right.
Not Obama's. This was Donald Trump's own appointed director who found this. But again, in 2020, what happened in January, 2021, what happened on January 6th, that was not Facebook ads.
Absolutely. He said, somebody said that, yeah.
That was people getting harmed. That was people storming a Capitol. They were in the Speaker of the House's office. And you actually had an officer die that day. And then you've had multiple other officers commit suicide or die from their injuries since. And this is supposed to be the Back the Blue party. But only when it's against black people.
Right. There you go.
Another point was they brought up about what was happening in Springfield. And if you don't know, Trump and J.D. Vance have been pushing this narrative that Haitian immigrants are eating pets, right?
No, dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats. They're doing this because they are Caribbean immigrants. It's a subtle shot in dog whistle at the vice president who has a Caribbean father.
That's right.
Right? Kamala Harris is mixed. We all know this, right? They're taking shots at her. But it's also causing harm in that local community. There's been bomb threats, shooting threats at schools that have high Haitian populations at it. And when it was brought up and asked, Vance gave his answer and everything, and talked about, they're illegal and everything. And the reporter said, but Senator Vance, this is your home state. They're there legally on TPS status. Right? Something that a lot of people fought very hard for under the Obama administration. And his answer to that was, I thought the rules were you were not going to fact check.
Well, that was stupid. I think he said the loud part. He said the quiet part out loud.
Right.
He didn't mean to say that.
Meaning he knows he was lying, but how dare you fact check me?
Right.
How dare you fact check me? These are citizens. At the point that they go through the TPS process, they get certain rights just like American citizens. They pay taxes and everything. And you're using your racist tropes and dog whistles to attack these people. And there's like 15,000 Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, his home state. So again, this is causing issues in his home state. Why? Because he's trying to get a promotion. On the other side, the news reporters asked Tim Walz about his time in Japan. And, he after a while, he sidestepped a lot. He talked about his experience there and carried on a little bit. And then he was asked again. And then he said, you know what? I misspoke. I was there later in that year, but I misspoke about the time I was there. I think that's how, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Just admit it after a while. And, both sides. Well,
if Vance would admit anything about being wrong, he would have been fired. So we're not expecting him or Trump to ever admit any wrong.
Exactly. There was a clear divide over abortion and reproductive rights, which is probably one of the hottest topics that they have right now for this election. But I will say, Vance said, Republicans have to do better on it. While, you have your running mate is the guy who's responsible for overturning Roe versus Wade and stripping so many rights away from it. Another big issue was gun rights and gun control and gun violence. Tim Walz is from a rural community, a hunter, and talked about the fact that his stance on guns changed when he met with the Sandy Hook parents and saw their pain from losing their kids. He used to have 100% rating from the NRA. J.D. Vance says it's not the guns, it's the people, right? But if the guns are relatively available to people who have mental illness and people who want to commit crimes, then yes, it is the guns. Take that weapon away from them, especially military-grade weapons. So again, it was very interesting to watch the debate go back and forth. I don't think either one of them won. Vance definitely started better, but once Tim Walz warmed up on stage, he was good. So again, it's little things like that I pay attention to. But again, we have a very long way to go over this next month.
Yes.
This next month. So again, continue to talk to people about why you're voting and why they should not only vote, but also try to get additional people to come out and vote. Yes. Next, I'm not for sure if you've heard, but the port workers are on strike right now.
About it, yeah.
And there was a lot of planning that went into this, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they're greedy, they're greedy, they're greedy." No. In 2020, our port workers stayed through that pandemic and kept our ports open, kept resources coming to our community so that we could survive during that global pandemic. Their pay was frozen. Mm-hmm. And when their pay was frozen, their executives, right, the big bosses, were getting raises, billions of dollars versus raises. They had multiple quarters of record numbers coming in and record profits, right? So again, for the port workers, all right, you're making a record profit. You're giving yourself a raise. Now it's our turn. Now that it's time to negotiate our contracts. The contract was breached because in the contract, you're not allowed to automate the docks, right? That was something they fought for and won in their contract. And in Mobile, Alabama, the company broke the contract and started automating that dock down there, right? That takes away jobs from working people, right? So they are on strike asking for a fair wage, a better wage, and also to stop the automation of the ports. This is now they're going on year 4 of record profits at these shipping companies that employ them. So again, they're seeking better pay. They're seeking protection against automation. Me and 2 other new council members, council member elect Alex Hackett and council member elect Christian Wilhauler, we all went down and supported our dock workers right here in the city of Wilmington. Right. We all have dock workers who are in our districts. Christian has a high number of Haitians who work at the dock, who are in her district. And then me, myself, I have, I think I have 4 on my block, like the block I live alone. But I have a ton that live in my district. And I actually talked to a guy who had never met me in person, had got my mail, got my flyer, said, I think I talked to your mom on election day. She handed me your flyer and everything. I voted for you. And he ran to his car and he still had that flyer, my vote for me on election day flyer. So he was like, yeah, I voted for you and everything. And I'm so happy that you came out and supported me. Yeah. And he said, I'm glad we finally have a council person who supports the working people. Yes. So again, this is about corporate profits. And do we want to pit people over that or pit the profit over people? And for me, it will always be the people over profit. Yes. So again, I hope they get this deal done soon. So that it does not cause a huge disruptors in our supply chain, but also I'm willing to make that sacrifice if it means them getting a better job. And this is, USMX is the company that they're fighting with right now. I have a feeling that they're going to get this done soon because they're not going to want things to pile up. And, it's not just the longshoreman who's on strike. Everyone who's in a union is supporting them. So, whether it's the security guards who Homeland Security who are unionized, they're in support. If the people on the ships have dropped anchor out in the Chesapeake and they not moving. They not bringing anything in. The Teamsters who drive the trucks, they're not moving and delivering things right now. But then other unions, the laborers have come out, the building trades have come out, the bricklayers, the carpenters, the electrical workers have all come out in support and standing in solidarity with their brothers and sisters on the strike line. So again, if this does continue, there will be a strike fund created to help them. But again, this isn't my first time being on a strike line. I was out there with UAW in Wentzville, Missouri. And I'm happy to stand on a strike line with them here in Wilmington, Delaware. So again, that's where we're at with things. Next, there is a lot going on in Wilmington, but I wanted to talk about this weed rezoning. So the planning meeting happened. I told you I would keep y'all updated on it. There was a few modifications to the map. So the original map said that residential areas were off limit, and you couldn't be within, even if you were in a commercial area, you couldn't be within 100 feet of a residential area. That has been amended to 300 feet, and now it goes to council for council to introduce the ordinance and then have a committee hearing on it as well too. There has been a national letter sent from civil rights organizations, the Asian Pacific Islander American Health Forum, the National Urban League, Black Women's Roundtable, Council on Black Health, NAACP, Unidos USA, and the Coalition for Black Civil Participation have sent a letter to Governor Carney and Director Andrew Wilson of our Medicaid director, urging the background that they stop the disenrollment of Medicaid because urging you to act now to end the major health emergency regarding the Medicaid disenrollment. Again, the state that voluntarily paused the procedural disenrollments earned a passing grade. States that did not pause this have been rated above 5% and did not expand Medicaid, earned a failing grade. So again, there's 34,000 residents that have been terminated from Medicaid coverage due to procedural and administration reasons. But again, they're asking to stop all procedural Medicaid disenrollments and re-enrollment eligible recipients who have been wrongfully removed from the rolls since April 1st, 2023, to reestablish them, establish and improve automated renewal system, and renew eligible-based matches for reliable data sources such as supplemental nutrition assistance programs, SNAP income findings. So that was sent, and it was signed by Derek Johnson from the NAACP, Mark Moriel from National Urban League, Melanie Campbell from Coalition of Black Women or Black Civil Participation, and other, the National Council of Negro Women as well too. So again, that's where we're at with things right there. And then next week I look to bring y'all even more information.
Yeah, well, you bring in a lot of information now. They sent this letter to Carney. I know we're out of time.
Yeah.
But when they sent this letter to Carney, what was their ask to do what?
Yeah. So again, they wanted to protect the health and well-being of families in the state of Delaware.
Because what happened was you gave a lot of information. I want to make sure people hear that main thing.
Yeah. So they want to protect the families who are eligible families, but because of procedural have been terminated from Medicaid. So again, they want to stop all that from happening, from going forward, and re-enroll the eligible recipients who've been wrongfully removed from the rolls since April 1st, 2023. Establish an improved automated renewal system and process moving forward for eligible to eliminate high rates of procedural disenrollment. So we had a very high rate here in Delaware.
Right.
And then renew eligibility-based matches based on reliable data, such as using the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, as many of us know as SNAP, income findings.
Yeah, now, they sent the letter to Governor Carney. Has he responded at all?
No, the letter was sent on Tuesday.
Okay, so what we got to do is we got to make sure that we follow up and see what the governor's response to that. I think that's a very noteworthy cause, and I want to make sure that the people understood the fact. I mean, not the fact, the facts rather. And the facts are that there was some ask in that, and now I want to know how the governor's going to respond. Very good. We'll be right back.
The world looks a whole lot different depending on where you stand.
Sure does.
From growing up in Wilmington to serving as a diplomat in a country devastated by war, starting 2 small businesses that created jobs, and teaching middle school math in neighborhoods that are too often overlooked and left behind. I'm Matt Meyer, and no matter where I stood, if something was broken, I've always tried to make it better. So when the insider said I had no shot against a 12-year incumbent, I ran for Newcastle County Executive anyway.
Gotta love an underdog.
Knocking on nearly 10,000 doors because our county looks different depending on where you stand, too.
Hey, Mr. Meyer, in our classroom, you always made us show our work.
We put the county checkbook online in the first 6 months to show where your tax dollars are going. We are making our county cleaner and greener, investing in early childhood and mental health services. Started 1,000 Kids Coding to give low-income students high-income skills. And we created the Hope Center, helping thousands of people get off the streets and into homes. Now, as too many families struggle with the rising costs of housing and health care, too many communities go without clean air and clean water. And our schools rank 46th in the nation. I know we can do better, because we should be a state where every kid gets a great education, where every family has a safe neighborhood they can afford to call home, and every woman makes decisions about her own body.
You got that right.
I'm Matt Meyer, and I'm running for governor, so that no matter where you stand, we can all see a brighter future.
Don't forget the website.
As a mom, I want my kids' lives to be filled with joy and possibility, and I want that for every kid. That's why I support No Kid Hungry. They work in schools and communities to make sure every kid gets the healthy meals they need. Please join me in supporting No Kid Hungry for all kids.
Thank you.
And we're back. Coby, at the end of our show today, I just have a couple things in the state of politics. You know, we've started this new corner, and how are you feeling, without a whole lot of commentary, how are you feeling with whether or not the Democrat ticket or the Republican ticket? How are you feeling right now?
I feel energized, but I also feel very nervous.
Okay.
I don't want to take anything for granted. I know this is going to be a super close election, and I need people I know everyone's tired, but I need people to give just a little bit more to help get the vice president and the gov over the finish line to get this done. Pennsylvania is going to be extremely close.
Yes.
Georgia is going to be extremely close. Arizona is going to be extremely close. North Carolina is going to be extremely close. We need all the help possible.
I think she needs Philadelphia, Pennsylvania more than any of them.
Yes.
So do you think it was a mistake not to have Shapiro as her running mate?
No, I think Shapiro would not have been able to resonate in rural communities in Michigan, Wisconsin, and up in Maine 2nd District, in Nebraska 2nd District, even in Arizona. So again, it put Pennsylvania more in play for Trump, but it helped her in other swing states.
Okay, and what I love about the state of politics is you can't give me a whole lot of comments. You just got to answer my questions. How does the appointment for the state when the governor is selected by the people in November?
Yes.
He or she begin to do their appointments?
Yes.
How do they have to go to a committee, or is the governor's choice?
Yes. So the governor selects a person, and that person then is sent to the Delaware State Senate Executive Committee, where they do their research, committee hearing on them, ask questions and anything. It also gives opportunity for other senators to come in. And then once they release the nomination, it goes to the Senate floor for approval. So again, a simple majority, and that's how someone is appointed. And that's most nominations go through the executive committee. It also goes through judicial committee sometimes, and so on.
I was sitting in my bedroom working on something a couple of weeks ago, and the dog kind of was doing something. It made me think of something. I believe that the Lord had it where Sherry Dorsey Walker would run for lieutenant governor, because she has a strong track record. She understands the legislation process. She understands the state of Delaware. She went throughout the state and she done a whole lot of things. Do you think ask from this community for Sherry to become the state Secretary of State, do you think that would be a hard ask?
I don't think it would be a hard ask at all. Here, our Secretary of State is appointed. It's not elected. And in most states, Secretary of States oversee the elections for the state. That is not true here. Our Secretary of State oversees pretty much everything, right? It's a extremely diverse department that has some type of role in everything, from promoting Delaware economy and our economic development, preserving our heritage here, our libraries, showcasing our history, arts and culture here, protecting public health, safety, upkeeping of regulations, licensing. It goes on and on and on. And I could, it even has something to do with education, governmental, recreation, it has everything involved with it here. It's a very powerful office for it to be appointed. And again, they sometimes have even more power than our lieutenant governor. They serve on the board of pardons as well too, with our lieutenant governor, who is the chair of that. A member of the Economic and Financial Advisory Committee, DFAC, and the member of the Cash Management Policy Board as well too. So again, it is very important.
Have we ever had an African American to serve as Secretary of State?
No, we haven't.
Okay, and let me just say this for those of you who are watching. Sherry, who is a college-trained individual who understands the community, understands the state of Delaware, I think she would be great. And I hope those, because I know a lot of Matt people watch our show, I hope they would recognize that there was a lot of people against Matt. Mm-hmm. Sherry stood with him. And I hope that this will give him an opportunity to say, you know what, let me be like Biden in essence. Let's do this right. A qualified African-American woman who would, I think, serve and do well. And that could be the real purpose for why she was successful in that. Let me run real quickly to, I've been hearing some things through the grapevine that you really can't respond to this, but we only got a little bit of time. And that is that there are some Democrats running around, and I'm told Betty Long Hall was a part of this whole little group of people saying they wanted to have Democrats for Mike Ramone. And I've watched the stupidity of that from other times. But I think, once again, if the Democratic Party would be that dumb, that retarded, that's inappropriate. And I'm sorry, I do apologize for that. That non-thinking body where they would try to support a Republican because their candidate did not get in, that'll be a disgrace before God and before the people.
So I know, at least from the Democratic Party side of things, we're 100% behind Matt Meyer. And people who were with Team Bethany are, out there canvassing for Matt right now, making phone calls for Matt, organizing, getting people out. We've done unity rallies up in every subdivision, which is the 3 counties in the city of Wilmington, highlighting Matt to make sure that, they know we're coming together after this very brutal campaign primary cycle. But we're united going forward. Okay. We can't control individual candidates. And, sometimes candidates are very upset that they lost and want to go out and do their own thing. So, unfortunately, it's nothing new. We have seen that before. But again, hopefully the messaging gets out that we as a party, now that the primary is over, are with Matt Meyer.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, the 109th Councilmanic District.
Yes.
I keep calling it Councilmanic, but it's council. Will be coming together very, very shortly. I believe that that is enough votes there. I'm not sure, through my conversations that I've had with individual council members, to be able to return the president of city council power back to its original state or how it was at one point. I believe it's there. I mean, I don't want to get into who I talked to and who didn't, but after talking to enough, I believe the 7 votes are there. There's one more thing I'm interested in. I'm going to be careful, so don't react. Just say I'll talk about it later. But I'm hoping that after watching Harley, who is a vice chair now of finance, who has really been using her strategic plan in her one district, being able to show that there's building being done for the poor, for the nonprofits, as well as you got the Pacini folks that's going on. I believe, and having all the years as an executive, also college trained, I think that she would probably make a good director of finance. I don't know, Coby. What are you thinking?
Director of finance?
Not
or
director.
Finance chair?
Finance chair, excuse me.
Yeah, so it's definitely been made aware that she's interested in that role.
Oh, she is? Okay.
Again, I am in the mind that we should go back to how we used to do things. And that is the council president had the power to appoint the chairs of each committee.
Yes.
And the members who would best serve on each committee as based off their recommendations of what they want to serve on, right? Don't put me on a committee that I don't want to serve on.
Absolutely.
But, based off, what I say I want to serve on and others want to serve on. So again, I think that's a decision up to Trippy if that power is restored.
And that's why I'm saying it. That's why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because we believe we're fighting hard for Trippy to get his power back. And I'm using the word Trippy, but I was really just going off the office. But at this point, I think there are some people that he really needs to make sure that get in so he can make him look good as well, because he'll have his power back. Coby, this is all we got. We got no more time at all today.
Right.
And we're going to get it back together. So until the next time, see ya.
Take care, y'all.
You've been watching The Source with host Dr. C.T. Curry and co-host Coby Owens. Tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest episodes.